Hi everyone, this is Radull Live. Thanks for tuning in once again. Today we're going to talk about rugby. Why? Because rugby is taking center stage. I know last weekend we had the Curry Cup here in Nairobi, and it's going to continue, and I want to hear more about it from today's guest, Paul Odera, the head coach, Kenya Simbas. First of all, congratulations on your win last Saturday.
Thank you very much. Yes, I enjoyed that.
But do you say?
No, it's good to celebrate wins. And,
We'll get into Kenya 15s a bit later on. I know you are the head coach, but Paul, I want people to know who you are, where you come from, where you started playing rugby, and I want you to start at the very beginning. And yes, we have time.
who I am, where I come from. Hey, Carol,
in terms of rugby.
That is an age-old question. Okay, in terms of rugby. I started playing the game when I was 10, 11 at Consolata Primary School. We had a missionary from Cote d'Ivoire, a Frenchman. So I can't remember his second name. He was called Henry. Anyway, he came in and introduced the game. Just about the same time, the fence that separated us from our neighbors just happened to be Thomas Odundo, who's the director of rugby at the moment, and the acting CEO of KRU, who was playing rugby at Lenana School. So again, he got us interested in the game because we used to be fodder, were the little ones. So when he's come to practice, his moves and his passes were the little ones who were playing rugby with him. And then, coincidentally, also about a year or two later, the artist Kioko Mutiki came to teach art at Consolata, but he was part of that Kenyatta University group called Damupevu. So again, Damupevu, yes. So when our Cote d'Ivoire French missionary left, Kioko Mutiki took over and coached us. And then about a year or two later, the Rugby Patron Society then launched a program at the RFUA for children, midi rugby. And Thomas Odundo was then a national team player, was involved in that, and he got us children to play. So it's good I didn't live too far away. We lived down on Dennis Spirit Road, so we could walk to training. The only catch with that mini rugby program was that it was on a Sunday, and Kenyans being Kenyan, Sunday is a day for church. So I had to negotiate from 11 o'clock mass at Consolata Parish to go for the 9 a.m. mass at the Basilica, and then one of my cousins, Cosmas, would then take me for training. So that's how I started playing the game, and then I guess there was very little rugby on television. I think you only had to watch Gillette Sports. That's around 19.
Rugby would be once in a while.
Once in a while. But I was playing the game, and if you wanted to watch live rugby, you had to go to Carnival, because that was the only place.
Live rugby at Carnival.
That was the only place. That was the only place if you wanted to watch Six Nations live. And the rest, you had to depend on those VHS videotapes that people would pass around. So there
wasn't much exposure, I guess,
no.
at that stage.
No.
You went to St. Mary's.
Then I went to St. Mary's in Form 1. Father Frank Caffrey there was ahead of his time in terms of preparations and planning. We had a gym already. We were a day school competing with boarding schools. So Father Caffrey again introduced what we call residential clinics, a clinic where we'd go in for about 10 to 12 days and train like a boarding school. Because you can imagine when someone in Pacho changes is training, you're on the school bus going to school. When someone at Pacho changes is still training, you're on the school bus going home. And then on Saturday and Sunday, when you'll be told you have to go for a wedding or you have to go for a function, they're still training because they're in school. So it was virtually impossible to compete, even with Rift Valley Academy, RVA as well, who are also a boarding school. So that was Saints. And Saints from 1988, the likes of Habo were the pioneers of that residential clinic, and Alvin Odhiambo and John Kakagi and a number of players through that time were the people who were pioneers. Because then in 88, I think we beat RVA for the first time in Kijabe. And then we were coming through as the youngsters. So the physical conditioning and the skills and the exposure. We used to do analysis as well. We'd watch videotapes. And
at that stage, at St. Mary's?
At that stage. And, again, credit to Father Kafri and the Holy Ghost Fathers in St. Mary's. They were ahead of their time in terms of planning and preparing for the season. And then, people think it's by magic, but then in the 90s, the results started coming and St. Mary's became a very dominant school. Yeah,
because St. Mary's is well known for rugby, including the president of this country.
Yes, he played
rugby at St. Mary's.
They played and they were good, but were just not able to break into the Prescott Cup finals and win the Prescott Cup. So that's through the 90s. Now, when a change in the school management and approach changed, then of course that had an impact on the game of rugby, and the planning was not as meticulous and as thorough, and the investment in the sport in the school was not as much. And of course then you've seen that over the years the results at St. Mary's have just gone down. So sometimes you always have to look at what happens behind the scenes when you see success on the field. So that was me through St. Mary's. I captained for 3 years from fourth form to IB2, and I completed my studies. People used to say we are grandfathers and we are old and we are babas and we should not be playing schoolboys. Perhaps maybe they did have a point, but if you look at the very good players who transitioned into the national team, a lot of us were that generation who came through St. Mary's. Unfortunately, brain drain being what it is a lot of the talented players left the country.
Actually, a lot. I know, was it Sami?
Sami Kakame. No, Sami Kakame was not. Alois Odiambo was one. Jimmy Kimbo, George Gashusha, Speedy, Andrew Githaiga, who was a very good fly half. And when you look at a lot of those players who all went abroad, they could have contributed a great deal to the development of the sport. Stephen Owiro is another one I can think of. There was Adrian Bukenya, but he was Ugandan.
So some of the best talent left the country. But then from St. Mary's, you continue to play rugby. At what point in this story do you decide, I'm going to make rugby my life?
Rugby,
it's your life, Paul.
You make a good statement, Carol, because sometimes hobbies are actually your life. My dream, like any youngster playing the game, was to play professional rugby. Unfortunately, at that time, there was not much money in the game. The game was amateur. The game only went professional in 1995. But then the opportunities were also very limited because unless you went to the UK to play, and even then, the money was in rugby league, not rugby union. So that was my dream. My dream, let me be honest, and my mom was not very happy with me, was to captain Kenya. And I remember we were sitting around as a group of standard 8s about to complete our KCPE, and everyone saying what they want to do. I said, I think I just want to captain Kenya. And then that was it. And when we met years later, at a reunion, and Sami Kiboro, my good friend, was laughing and saying, do you remember you making this statement? And you've actually gone ahead and worked at it and got it.
Captained Kenya.
Yes, but there's no money in the game. So I remember from about 1997, that's my first year out of school, all the way till 2004 or 5. I made a decision then when I joined university to not to play for the Kenya Sevens team because it was simply difficult to be in university and then you leave for, 20 days sometimes, 3 weeks. And then you get back. So I think the decision for rugby to be my life was made when I was very young. But without the parental support, without my mom's support, because I lost my dad when I was quite young, when I was in second form. Without that support, it would have been very difficult to actually have played the game to the level that I did. My mom wanted me to, I think, continue with my studies abroad. I just wanted to play. Rugby.
But you did play. Take us through your club career.
I've been at Queen's, I think, since I was a boy. Went to Barclays briefly when I was in fourth form. I think Barclays were trying to rebuild. They were going through quite a bit of changes there. So I played for 2 months. And at that time, you followed Edward Rombo or Eric Kibe to whichever club they had. But Queens being home is
Strong, sure,
superior.
Strong, sure, superior.
Yeah, again, that was only coined in about 1996. Queens was a club very similar to Saints. It had a lot of tradition and heritage. Not really performing, would win once in a while, but wasn't really a serious contender or regularly, let's call it that. But then in 1995, Barclays collapses, Stanchart collapses, and then there's now this influx of players. And it changed the culture at Queens. Suddenly all these players are coming in, and then there are also players who completed their studies. So Martin Deda, Gordon Anampio, who were very good players.
Big names.
Big names. They'd finished their studies. They were now getting into mid-level management, and I think Harlequins also offered the opportunity for them to be their peers at a certain level. So suddenly you got all these fantastic players all coming in to Queens in 1995, 1996. I played for Queens and won Blackrock with them in 1995. Then the politician in me then, felt I was a lot better than I was being given credit for, and
okay.
I left. Yes, I had a disagreement with Ham, the coach, and then I said, well, I'm never playing for Queens again. And then after a very heated meeting, I shall say, I was told, well, if that's what you feel, then you are now relegated to the second team for 1 year. So in 1997, I played Eric Shelley rugby for a year. Oops, yes, indeed, which was fine. Best time of my life. I really enjoyed it, and I think that's actually one of the years that I developed as a player. Because when you're in the second team, the pressure is not as high.
Eyes are not on you as much.
Players are not as skillful, so you can try silly things.
Shine.
You can try silly things, and when they work, you get confidence. Confidence is a huge part of being a player.
Yeah.
You can see it even in football. Once players' confidence goes, then it becomes very difficult to play.
Game.
Yeah, so I developed my confidence. I played at the wing, and then played at fullback for a bit, but I was a flanker through and through. At that time, Austin Kosero Onyango, who was coaching Kenya, I think he was a forwards coach. He's one of the most respected players we've had in Kenya for a long time. He used to come and talk to me and tell me, look, I don't think you're a winger. You need to move back to back row. I think that's your position. And so I moved back to back row in 1998. We won floodlights, so I was captaining those. Queens used to play a very young team. In fact, we were nicknamed the Pound Puppies. That was the nickname we were given at that time. And we won floodlights, and then captaining that young team right through eventually led to my captaining Queens in 2003. And I did that for 2 years, 2003, 2004. That time I also captained the Kenya schools, captained Kenya under 23 side, and then
national team.
Captained the Kenya Sevens team. Then I broke in and played one game for the Simbas against Public School Wanderers. Then I got into politics again. At that time, we formed the Kenya Rugby Players Association.
Throughout your career, you got into politics.
Yeah, I can't help myself.
You're known for being a bit, for lack of a better term, hard-headed.
Kichwa ngumu.
Kichwa ngumu. Where did that come from? Just knowing what you want.
My grandmother. No, in fact, it's my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother was the first Catholic in our family, and that story I can give you of how she got into Catholicism, but that one would take, I think, another 4 hours. But it runs in our family. Then my grandmother, was one of the first teachers, leave female or male, in that part of the country, in Homa Bay. So I guess that's where it comes from. But I think I have a strong sense of justice, so right and wrong. And when I feel something is wrong. At that time, I was captain in Queens, and Peter Otieno died next to me at training.
Oops.
And to me, the emotion and the sadness, etc., was okay. But I said, we've got to do more. Because my thought was, what if he had a family who, depending on him as a breadwinner, then what would have happened to them? So ostensibly what we wanted was to get a welfare program for the players. So like a pension scheme or around a SACCO. And then from there, we'd be able to have a cushion for players, or like the late Benjamin Aimba, my good friend who passed away, who played in the national team. Those are some of the things that we wanted to form at that time. However, we were young, made mistakes, we were fiery, firebrands, and we were very militant about it. And also, we didn't realize, once you start playing a game that's outside the field, you're then playing in the territory of others who perhaps are a lot wiser and a lot more skilled in that. So that was the Kenya Rugby Players Association, which after we were asked to produce a registration certificate, we applied, and then the certificate just never came out.
To date.
To date, from 2003. So anyway, so that put paid to winning a few more caps. Do I have regrets? No.
Let's talk about your coaching, because
now into coaching.
Yes, because I know you got your coaching badges very early on.
Yeah.
But for some reason was not being appointed. We used to campaign for you on radio for 15 years.
I remember.
When are they going to make Polo the head coach of Kenya 7? When? Not if, when. Because you got your coaching badges very early.
Yeah.
And if I'm not wrong, you're the most highly qualified Kenyan coach in this country.
Carol, thank you. You're very good for my ego.
It's a fact.
Yes. So with the coaching badges, so around, I think, was it 98 or 99, we got Stuart Urquhart, who was the development officer, development manager. And then he started training coaches across the country. So I was still playing, but I was doing a lot of development work for the Kenya Rugby Union at that time. So I was going out to schools. I was going to Nairobi Secondary, Patch, Saints, Jammu High School as well. And then Upper Hill was also one of the other schools I was going to. And then through that, because I wasn't in school, I'm playing rugby in the evenings at Queen's, so that filled in a lot of time for me. It made sense to also give back to the game. But at St. Mary's and in most high schools, the captain takes on a lot. And I started coaching together with the group of players I had very early. So that, anyway, was a natural progression for me to start coaching. So by the time I stopped playing in 2005, I'd been coaching for quite a while. Hence, when the level 3 program came up to be done, I found that it was a natural progression for me. But again, in 2005, 2006, when I was sent on, I'd say a trip that had many logistical challenges, I then stepped down as the coach. I was coaching the Kenya under-18 side. And there were very many issues there to do with governance that I felt had compromised my integrity and my reputation. So that's when I stepped down. I was basically told, well, because of these reasons that you've made very public, you will not be considered for any national position for a long time. And I said, it's not a problem.
And that long time was almost 15 years.
10, almost 10
Almost
years.
10, because you did come as under 20. But you chose to use your talents, because I don't know if people know this about you, but you decided to go and coach schools.
Yes.
School sports.
School sports is where I went and put my energy into St. Mary's, and then went to coach Upper Hill and left them with a blueprint which they've taken on, and it's contributed to a lot of their success. Upper Hill happened also to be where my brother was head boy, so in the 80s. So that's why I did make that choice there. And then in 2015, there were changes at the Kenya Rugby Union, and Ron Bukusi had come in. Michael Tagotian had also been brought in. And I then applied for the Kenya Under-19 job and got it. And then that's when we, with Mike Ong and Michael Wino and Jimmy Katembo, we slowly built a program and a framework that got us to the Junior World Trophy in 2019. And then I got promoted. Yes, to
under-20s.
And yes, and then we got to Brazil. And then we got to the Simbas in 2019, 3 years ago. And we've set our target to get Kenya to the World Cup.
I want to take a break on that note. We're going to come back in about 30 seconds time and talk about the Kenya Simbas. Yes, we have the Curry Cup on our soil for the first time, and we want to go for the World Cup, the elusive World Cup. Will Polo get us there? Let's have that discussion after the break. Welcome back. We've been getting a lesson on Kenyan rugby from Paul Odera, the head coach of Kenya Simbas. By the way, Paul, it's like a lesson in Kenyan rugby. You've named some names that I even forgot. People I even forgot played rugby for this country.
They played.
You know. And Sean for this country.
Yes.
Now, you've taken us through your progress. Now you're Kenya Simbas coach. You have been for a while. Although I think last year you quit and unquit. What happened?
Let's just stick to getting to the World Cup.
No, but I know he was very headstrong, which is a positive. Unfortunately, there are people who don't like to be challenged in certain positions, but that's not the focus. We want to get to the World Cup. Last weekend, we had the first ever Curry Cup game here.
Yes.
We have another one. And what can we expect out? Because I understand you're using this to train for the qualifiers.
Yes, this is preparation for the qualifiers. But Kenya being Kenya, when the Simbas take the field, Kenyans want to win. How we win, people don't care. They just want us to win. Others, they say, you team, tunashindwa kila saa. And then they go.
Strong, we win.
Yes. So the World Cup is, I think, going to be a huge, a huge challenge for us. Playing Uganda in the first game is tough. I think that's our final. If we don't play that game like it's our final, I think we may come out. We could be in trouble. Uganda being Uganda, they're a good team. They've got good players. They're preparing really well.
And we're big rivals. We beat them, they beat us.
It's Everton, Liverpool, Real, Barcelona, AC Milan, Inter Milan. Anytime Uganda and Kenya play in any sport, it's always a big challenge. Look what happened when we lost to them in sevens. In the qualifiers, it probably was a contributory factor to the changes in the coaching and the management. So we're very clear that the game on the 2nd of July is a final. We're going to approach it that way. It's going to be a brutal match, and the players are also very clear. And we as management have also made it very clear to ourselves that is really the game that will dictate whether we qualify or not. Well, if we lose, we're out because it's a quarterfinal. So there are no second chances. So that's the World Cup. Financially, if we do make it, it's going to change the game of 15s. Just like when Kenya Sevens got into the HSBC series.
Yeah.
I played in the first ever HSBC tournament in 1999. And we were the pioneers. And after that, the likes of Kolo and Kayange and Oscar Dennis and Biko Adema have then taken the game to a different level. So that's qualification. Now, qualifying Carol is not easy. I think we've got to give credit to the current KRU chairman, Odur Gangla, for sticking his neck out and getting us to the Curry Cup. Mm-hmm. Because if you watched last week's game, when people came and just watched even the physical conditioning of the players and also how the players were approaching the game tactically, I think many were in agreement that we've benefited a great deal from being in South Africa. And we'd said it over 3 years ago that what we always lack as Kenya is a tough competition to prepare for World Cup qualifiers. And now we've got that opportunity. It doesn't mean we'll qualify, but it gives us a very good
You're heading
foundation.
in the right direction.
We're in the right direction. So on the field and off the field, we're almost there. We just have to do a few tweaks and see which combinations are still working. We're still expecting, I think, Malcolm Motsando is one of our key players we're waiting for. Unfortunately, we didn't get 2 key players from the US, but the players here have more than adequately covered for that. So that is it, Carol. Huge expectations from Kenyans. The players themselves are under no illusions that they represent something bigger than just themselves on the field. We've worked really hard on a culture within the Simbas. Rugby has not had good publicity from our 2 gentlemen who got in trouble, and then to even what parents perceive as lifestyle challenges with rugby players. So these Simbas players have been challenged by myself and the rest of the management team to be good ambassadors of the African man, the Kenyan man. Can we be men who the country looks up to, who women look up to for protection, who children look up to as role models? So I've really pushed hard for that, and the boys have responded really well. Because when they are carrying themselves as men who are respected, then that translates to them playing well as well. So
you're doing a 360 training program. It's not just the rugby. It's the physical, it's the mental, it's the spiritual.
Everything, the spiritual, and even the relationships. Who's your partner? With the wives, are they people
Are you at peace?
Yes, because if the home is not peaceful, if the home doesn't have joy, there is no way the individual can be peaceful and joyous when they are engaged in whatever activity they're engaged in. So those are some of the things we've been trying to look at. Treat your partners right, and do your best. And we're not asking them to be angels, okay? But what we're asking them is to be people of certain values. And then those are the values that we're trying to carry on into the field.
Because in the past, it's been such a small, we've almost made the World Cup. Almost. Then we go for in fact, the repechage, I find, is even harder when we get to the repechage.
Don't talk about the
repechage. The qualifiers. There's a time, I think, were we in Madagascar or something? And we're like a game away.
2014. A game, we just needed 1 point.
A point away.
A point away. And then we playing Zimbabwe, we needed to win or draw or score 4 tries or lose by less than 7. But we didn't manage any of those. And with that, our opportunity to make the World Cup went. This is a good chance now. I think we've got the right balance of experience and talent. I've come through with quite a number of players from the under-20s who went to Brazil in 2019. John Okoth.
Because you trained them from there.
Yes, Dominic Coulson, got Edward Mwaura. We have, I think, Belda Dogeta, who scored a very good try last week. So Vincent Onyala, we've had since 2015 with the under-19s. So if you're looking at this current group, there are players who've been with this management team for a long time, and it helps as well in terms of continuity.
Financially, you're getting the support?
At the moment, we're broke because I think we spent almost all our money in South Africa. A very expensive trip. So finances, finance is a finite resource. So we're always looking for more money. The good thing is with the World Cup qualifier, at least the costs when you get to France are covered by Rugby Africa and World Rugby. So that helps. But the most crucial bit, Carol, is between when we finish this last game on Saturday and then when we get on the flight on the 28th of June to travel to the south of France to play Uganda. We must get that period right in terms of making sure the players are feeling fresh, they're feeling confident, they're feeling strong, and they feel ready to take on the world because that's what we want from them. So this game on Saturday is also a big game in terms of developing and continuing with the confidence we built from last week.
What other programs would you like to see in preparation of the future of Kenyan rugby? So that even if we get to the World Cup, we ensure we get to the next World Cup and the next World Cup. Do we have enough youth programs from very young ages?
No. In fact, the Kenyan pathway in development is a joke. It really is. I was in Zimbabwe 3 years ago. And Zimbabwe, we know, is going through economic challenges. However, the Zimbabwe Pathway and Development Program, CARO, is world class. And I say world class not because, I don't know, they have swanky gyms and pitches. No, it's world class because there's a structure and a support system for young people. So when Zimbabwe want to choose an under 18 team, okay, so the schools will play. When the schools play, when they go on holiday, they're going to then have a combined team. So Lavington will combine with Kilimani, okay, or then play Buruburu, Eastlands, and then maybe the schools in Kasarani. And they'll have coaches and selection, etc. Then they'll choose a Nairobi select. But the same thing would have happened in
Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru.
Then now all those combined teams will meet for a week before they go back to school and play a tournament. Then from there they will select their national.
So well structured.
You tell me. But that needs the support of headmasters and headmistresses. Yeah. It needs the support of parents, because on a Saturday, yes, you have to make the commitment to take your child there. And mom and dad have to say, okay, instead of the Chama meeting or the Kesha or whatever,
I'm taking you for rugby.
You or football. And they do that for every sport. So that's how they choose hockey. That's how they choose football. That's how they choose cricket. That's how they choose yes. That's why we're a joke.
But then it needs a whole mindset.
It's a movement. It's a culture. It needs to
be driven most likely by the union or the Ministry of Education in conjunction.
The Ministry of Education, parents, teachers, the union, the government. So it's a movement. So on a Saturday morning, there's under 11 sport going on across the country. Here on a Saturday morning, we've put our children in a classroom. Yes, we have. And some people have angushed the first nyama. Yes, some people have angushed the first nyama. They've funguad the first beer by whatever they're waiting for Arsenal to play Liverpool or Everton to play Manchester United.
We have a bad culture.
Yes, and you can always, but you see what I'm saying? We are doing a disservice to our young people, because those are the structures our young people need, so that when it gets to Saturday morning, you know, across Kenya, if you're a young person under the age of 16, you are busy, whether you're a boy or a girl. You're busy because there's sport going on, there's selection going on, and people are engaged in the sport. But it needs teachers who have to get out of the classroom, put on their tracksuits and sports gear, and coach. It needs parents who are holding the school to account. That why is my son or daughter, whether they're in Kilimani Primary or in St. Mary's or Strathmore, why are they not engaged in the sport? Then it needs the government as well, who are also putting teachers and schools under pressure that our young people are engaged in activities and sport. So that's what I was saying. If you're talking about youth development programs, ours is a joke, because what do we have here? If I'm to choose like the national team, for example, have we actually exhausted the best players in Kenya from Rift Valley, from Mukunda, from Homa Bay, from Busia? No, we haven't. We haven't. And that's the reality. You go for nationals. Nationals is schools, isn't it? But how about a good player who played for
a team that never made it?
Yes, Shimolatewa, for example. Maybe Shimolatewa didn't make the nationals. So ideally, nationals should be a combined team from the coast, so that we know the players we are seeing are actually
the best from the region.
The best from that region. Not that it's a school going for the nationals. Then it's a waste of resources. The selection of schools should be done at that provincial or whatever level. And then nationals. So when I come as the national coach to watch nationals, I know the 15 players I'm seeing there are actually the best from that region. But when you're telling me it's Musingu or it's Kakamega who've come, you've left maybe 20 or 30 good players. Yeah. So
dotted in other schools.
In other schools, yes. And then
that's a good way of looking at it.
Yes, that's really
here I also see, unfortunately, we work backwards, as in parents want to be inspired by a successful team to get their children into programs. As in, if our rugby sevens is not doing well, I don't even want my child to play rugby. If my Harambee Stars is not doing well, I do not want my child to play football. Go become
An
a
accountant.
journalist or a teacher, an
architect.
accountant, you know.
Yeah, we also need to bring our mothers on board.
Yeah.
Because mothers at home are very powerful in dictating what happens, the decision making in the home of what goes on. So for most mothers, they worry, have you eaten? Are you safe? Are you okay? You know, very basic worries. So to them, if the sport or where the child is going is not a safe space, they won't allow it. But if they knew that it's a community center where they will, you know, have some class in the morning for an hour, then they'll play their sport, then they'll be able to come home at 3 or 4, then that would work. It's the same way when on a Sunday you're driving, who do you see holding hands of the children? It's the women. So it's the same way you want them also to hold the hands of these children to take them to sports activities on a Saturday.
We have work to do. Will you ever go into union management?
Now you're going to get me in trouble. You're going to get me in political trouble. I'm just talking as...
I'm not saying tomorrow.
Yes, but I don't know.
No, because we need your thinking, Paul. Right now I know you're a deputy headmaster. You have a nice, good job.
Working. But the thing is, it's not even rocket science.
We need your thinking.
All that's helped is...
It's not rocket science, but nobody's doing it.
But I've come through the system. See, since I've come through the system as a child, and grown in the system and looked at it and seen what needs to be done, that's the only reason I have a very different outlook. So even with the selection of the national team, we've always bent over backwards to make sure there's inclusivity of everybody. I was in Western Kenya. I went to look at what Cabras were doing. I met the coaches from Bale, RFC.
Cabras are doing something right.
Yes, I wanted to go to Rift Valley. Not just Rift in Nakuru, because Rift is massive, and go to Eldoret and see which players we have there. I went all the way down to Kunda and saw what South Coast Pirates are doing. And for a long time, we had Charles Tendwa, who was with us from the under-20s, who then came into the national team, but he wasn't able to maintain the same levels of coaching and fitness. The saddest bit is if you're not in Nairobi as a rugby player, it is very easy for you to get left out. It's as simple as that. Because if you're outside Nairobi and you're down at the coast, you have to be in Mombasa RFC or South Coast Pirates, who are not even in the Kenya Cup. You will not be seen. And where the resources.
True.
If you're outside, if Western Kenya, if you're not at Cabras, I think that's it. In the Rift, if you're not in Nakuru or at Oilers, you're done for. So, and there are good players everywhere. Thomas Okeo now, who's playing for us at second row, is from Narok. But he had to go, he'd go to Maimahiu. Yeah, he'd go to Maimahiu, wait for Matatu. Matatu would take him all the way to Nakuru. I think Nakuru would facilitate his transport, and he'd play. That's how he got spotted. That's how we spotted him at the under-20s. And then brought him into the under-20s. Which means there may be
so many more in Narok, so many more all over the country.
Not maybe, there are so many more. There are many more across this country.
Paul, we need to wrap, but just to summarize, how confident are you that Kenya Simbas will be at the World Cup?
We're going to the World Cup.
We're going to the World Cup.
When I look at this group of young men, I truly believe they really want to do it for the country. They want to do it for themselves. And they want to do it for their families. But when I told them that 3 years ago, they'd look at me, coaches, are you sure? I tell them, look, I am very clear you have the talent and the ability. We just need to get your headspace in the right place. We need to get the resources.
And you've prepared well.
Yeah, this time we have prepared well. So we're almost there. But I'm very confident that I think on the 10th of July, we have a very good chance of making the World Cup. So buy your tickets when they're cheap.
I'm saving, man. This is a very expensive year, but I'm saving.
Yeah.
I'm saving. Paul, thank you so much for coming.
Karibu.
Thank you so much for coming on Radull Live. Yeah. I'm sorry, my cold is not holding up. I thought it was going to hold up for the
Don't
hour.
worry about it.
So I need to go nurse it. But thank you so much, and I wish you all the best.
Very welcome.
If ever there was a time we get to the World Cup, it was now. I have wanted to see you in that position forever and a day. And
well, now I have to deliver.
Now you have to deliver.
Yes.
And you're going to deliver.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for watching Radull Live. When you see Kenya Sevens, by the way, support them every time they are running out to play. Kenya Rugby, even the clubs in the regions, the schools, Let's see how we can also do something to help support our game. But thanks for coming and thank you
You're
for
very
watching.
welcome, Carol.
We'll see you
Anytime.
again next week.
Yeah.